Welcome back to a new year of GWeek.
Thanks for tuning in to our first episode of the school year. We'll be covering stories from the earthquake in Morocco to former President Trump's indictment and its impact on the future of the Republican Party.
We'll also dive into the unionization of the GW Museum and Textile Museum and the new director of SMPA, Peter Loge. Stay tuned. Welcome back. I'm Preston Summit, your new co-anchor with two working wrists.
And I'm Emma Grace Myers, with one. It's great to be back.
The votes are in. The Residence Hall Association's council decisions were released last week. Multiple positions like communications, finance, programming, and president will work together to deliver on their residents' needs and wants. 126 candidates ran for 106 open positions in traditional residence halls. 1,596 students voted in this year's election, which is approximately 26% of the students who live on campus, and is only 500 less than the total number of students that voted in the Student Association election last semester, according to RHA President Vero Famadas. However, there are still 21 positions open, and if you're interested in filling an open position with RHA, reach out to your hall's president or email rha@gwrha@gwu.edu. Congratulations to all candidates who ran for a position and got elected.
We welcome the new director of GW's School of Media and Public Affairs, Peter Loge. Ellie Bavey has the story.
This past year, GW's School of Media and Public Affairs announced Peter Loge as its new director for the next 3 years, as of July 2023. Director Loge has nearly 2 decades of teaching experience under his belt here within SMPA and was formerly the assistant director. Loge is taking over from the former director, Sylvia Wasteboard, and is being joined by Jesse Holland as the associate director and Pat Phelan as the director of graduate studies. In addition to his work with SMPA, he had a presidential appointment as a senior advisor to the commissioner of the Food and Drug Administrator. Additionally, Loge was a senior advisor for former Representative Steve Kagan on healthcare reform. As director, he hopes to increase activities within the SMPA community by hosting events like the CESNO series and other guest speakers in order to create a group of people who will change the world.
Thanks, Ellie. U.S. News recently released the heavily anticipated National College Rankings. As expected, the world's premier institutions, such as Princeton University and Harvard University, ranked highest. Locally, George Washington University was ranked number 67 in the 2024 year. While dropping from the 2023 ranking of number 62 to number 67 may be disappointing, consolation should reside with neighboring American University, as their ranking dropped from number 72 to number 105 in 1 year. American University is one of many private universities significantly dropped in ranking. The jump in public universities and drop in private universities has consumed this year's ranking. Many public universities, such as Virginia Tech and Texas A&M, experienced a 15 to 20 step increase, as American University and other private institutions encountered notable drops. The comparison between public and private universities, as well as the various rankings in DC universities, remain a question for future rankings.
The employees of the GW Museum and Textile Museum voted to unionize earlier this month. Avanti Patwarden has the story.
The GW Museum and Textile Museum has decided to unionize, joining the GW Hospital as the second GW-affiliated organization to form a union. According to the GW Hatchet, 9 employees from the 13 eligible voted for the unionization on Tuesday, September 12th. The workers will affiliate themselves with Service Employees International Union Local 500, which covers DC and much of Maryland.
So my name is Nicole Botero. My position is Visitor Experience Specialist here at the museum. Collectively, we started realizing that as an organization and as employees, we hadn't been really talking to each other about many things. We don't have much transparency. It is an institution that used to be freestanding. We actually came to GW in 2015, and as a result, we had very different situations. We realized that our different titles don't really add up with what the museum world would give us titles as, and as a result, we aren't paid similarly to our peers across other institutions. So around June, I want to say, we started talking and we said, nothing is getting better. We don't know where our requests are going or who to speak to. Everyone is incredibly overworked. We are a very small staff, so we said we need to start talking to each other and see what we can do to make these
after an anonymous donor gave $25 million to the museum, which is the largest gift the organization has ever received. According to Katrina Orsini, a museum program associate, employees felt that the money should go largely towards their salaries, leading to a vote to unionize.
So for the union, we hope to gain more transparency and also higher pay equity. We want it to be something that is reflective of the titles that a lot of my coworkers have. A lot of these positions you need to have a master's degree or you cannot get the position. But for a master's degree education, we're talking about entry-level salaries. So it doesn't really add up to have all of these necessary requirements, but you cannot pay what any other field would be paying. And we want more transparency. We want to know what the different avenues are. We are part of a much larger organization. Therefore, we want to be able to know and see that our demands are met through the necessary channels in a timely manner.
The GW Museum follows a general uptick in museum unionization brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the art newspaper, the lockdown led to dramatically decreased attendance and interest in museums as a whole, leading to mass layoffs and stagnant wages. The Union Membership and Coverage Database estimates that 13% of museums were unionized in 2020, the highest that number has been since 2013.
Museum attendance is going down, but I think it's because we're also being very afraid of what museums historically are. Right now there's an amazing cohort of rising museum professionals that are diverse, that have so many different opinions, they have so many different stories to tell, and they just want to make the change. It's a great time in seeing how the museum field is revolutionizing because more and more people are willing to stand up and say, hey, I want to be part of the stories being told.
For GWeek, I'm Avanti Putworthan.
Thanks, Avanti. Earlier this month, Hunter Biden was indicted in federal court for 3 counts of gun possession while on narcotics. 2 of those counts concern him claiming not to be on drugs when he purchased 1 gun. These counts could mean up to 25 years in jail if he does end up being indicted, with each sentence carrying a maximum fine of $250,000. He has pleaded not guilty to the charges. Hunter Biden has long been a target for conservatives, but now is truly the time that hard evidence has come to light. David Weiss, who is on the Trump committee, is currently overseeing the case. The investigation opened initially in 2018 and is now coinciding with Biden's re-election campaign, which could spell trouble for the Democratic Party in light of the upcoming 2024 election.
Canada and India are involved in a diplomatic dispute over the murder of a Canadian citizen that occurred in June. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is urging India to investigate his claim he has information that the assassination of a Canadian activist has links to New Delhi. Trudeau has claimed he isn't trying to provoke India, but continues to double down on the allegation New Delhi has denied the claim that the Indian government was possibly involved in the murder of a Sikh leader and called the claim, quote, absurd and motivated, end quote. The Indian government has also expelled a senior Canadian diplomat from India. 2 Sikh groups in Canada are urging the Canadian government to suspend cooperation with India following Trudeau's remarks.
The earthquake in Morocco has disrupted the lives of countless individuals, as well as historic sites and destinations. James Fan has the story.
Earlier this month, on September 8th, an earthquake caused permanent heartbreak and grief for families throughout Morocco. The death count has reached 2,946 individuals, as well as thousands of injuries, as of September 13th, according to ABC News. But the pain extends further than the victims and their families. Families who survived the earthquake are now left without shelter and security. Rebuilding has already begun in tourist-centered areas, and in Al Huz, the epicenter of the earthquake, maximum efforts are being made to help those affected. Moroccan officials said the government will provide funding for immediate relief and future rebuilding of about 50,000 damaged homes, according to AP News. However, according to the Weather Channel News, it could take 5 to 6 years to rebuild communities and homes for everyone. And with the fall slowly rolling in, it's getting colder during the night. Villagers have the option to move away, but many don't want to leave their homes and communities and are committed to rebuilding. In addition to homes and communities, historic destinations and sites like the Karbak Mosque, a popular tourist spot with musicians, henna artists, and food stalls, were not spared. The minaret part of the mosque collapsed entirely, according to New York Times. The extent of the damage remains unclear as aid is continuously underway. There are many ways to support the victims of Morocco. According to PBS, Hyatt Atlas Foundation is providing assistance in food, clean water, and shelter, as well as non-perishable items. CARE is collecting donations to support the earthquake survivors and will use the funds towards shelter and medical support. World Central Kitchen is providing ready-to-eat meals by helicopters with Moroccan volunteers and evacuating injured victims on the return trip. You can donate to any of these organizations to support them. These are just some of the ways we can help Moroccan families as they work through this tragedy. For GWeek, I'm James Finn.
Thanks, James. DC police are investigating a double shooting in Marvin Gaye Park. Last week, an unidentified caller reported a shooting, and police arrived on the scene to find a dead body and another in critical condition. The survived victim sustained injuries and is currently in stable condition and breathing. This shooting adds to the 191 homicides recorded in the DC area this year, a 29% increase from last year.
In the early days of the next presidential race and many issues, such as former President Donald Trump's recent arrests, many wonder, what will the Republican Party do to counteract it? Nanya Gandesi has the story.
On August 24th, former President Donald Trump was arrested after he turned himself into the Fulton County Jail in Georgia. The former president did not stay long in the county jail as he was out within minutes of his arrival. He was released on a $200,000 bond agreement. However, he was booked on felony charges in connection with efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election results in Georgia, per NBC News. This is the fourth time that Trump has been arrested this year. The former president has stated that he is not guilty of these charges. While the arrest may have happened much later, it was on August 14th that the jury indicted Trump and 18 others for claims to overturn the 2020 election results. As mentioned, this is not Trump's only indictments right now, as he has 4 with 91 charges across them all, according to the Washington Post. The breakdown of these is 44 federal charges and 47 state charges, all of them being felonies. The federal charges are on the January 6th election case and the classified documents case, while the state charges are from the New York falsifying business records case and the most recent Georgia 2020 elections. With all of this going on and the next election right around the corner, many ask, what does this mean for the Republican Party? While Trump is trying to run, it has many questioning about how his criminal cases will affect the perceptions of potential voters. Other prominent Republicans, such as DeSantis, have commented about this publicly and stated how he did not think the former president should have run again. While others share this sentiment, there's also the outlook of this becoming the focus of the Republican Party as a whole. The party does not want to have Trump be the forefront of their cause, as social media has made it out to be. Social media has exploded over the past few days, with the focus being on Trump's mugshot and not a potential candidate for the election. The party hopes to regroup and shift back to prominent issues within the government. With sentiment like this on the rise and the second Republican debate coming up September 27th, it is a waiting game to see how Trump's ongoing criminal cases will affect the party in the upcoming election and in the long term. For GWTV, this is Ananya Gandesi.
Thanks, Ananya. Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy is currently pursuing an impeachment of President Joe Biden. McCarthy points to a history of corruption within the Biden family, specifically the private business dealings of the president's son, Hunter Biden, as the reason behind the push. McCarthy announced that along with Hunter Biden's legal troubles associated with his foreign business deals, he also alleges that the current president should be investigated for abuses of power and corruption. The impeachment inquiry was initially announced by McCarthy on September 12th and is led by the Oversight Committee. The White House has pushed back on the allegations, pointing to mounting pressures on McCarthy as he struggles to pass legislation and threats to his leadership position as reasons behind the accusations against Biden.
Now, let's welcome our lifestyle correspondents, Thea Lawson and Valeria Martinez-Villegas, who will be talking about the upcoming All Things Go Music Festival.
The highly anticipated All Things Go Music Festival begins its 2-day run at the Merriweather Post Pavilion on September 31st.
Advertised by a festival organizers as the biggest All Things Go ever, the festival features headliners Maggie Rogers, Lana Del Rey, and Boy Genius, accompanied by other big names in music, including Carly Rae Jepsen and Lizzie McAlpine. The festival is cited for its support and inclusion of LGBT artists and women-focused lineups.
All Things Go started its festival run in 2011, but began as a music blog in 2006 by founders Adrian Masada, Will Suter, Zach Friendly, and Stephen Valamarescu. Centered initially around indie and rock music posts, All Things Go quickly gained widespread recognition when the blog moved to live stage production. The concert has become a sensation over the past decade, featuring 32 artists in this year's lineup and drawing in upwards of 20,000 audience members.
The festival welcomes an environment that is rooted in an inclusive community experience, and their mission is centered around building a one-of-a-kind moments that fans can share and remember forever.
Tickets for the two-day festival sold out promptly after going on sale in April of 2023, so hopefully you've already gotten your tickets to this truly memorable show. More experiences to look forward to at the event, along with the musicians, include interactive, immersive art experiences and a curated food and beer garden.
The artists are divided into two stages, the pavilion and the chrysalis stage. The theme of the chrysalis stage this year aims for a woodland theme, with Maggie Rogers and Lana Del Rey closing on the first night.
Still looking for more? New to this year's festivities is Boomfie's Besties Club, advertised as an online community to collaborate together around music and art. Features also include festival news and exclusive interviews from the 2023 lineup. The official All Things Go website also promises to include merch polls, playlists, and community socials in Boomfie's Club.
More information about merch, getting to the event, and of course the new Boomfie Social Club can be found on their website.
If you're one of the lucky ticket holders heading to the festival, we hope you have a blast.
So are you guys excited for this year? Do any of you guys have tickets?
Unfortunately, no, but the lineup is so good.
I heard last year was Lorde and Billie Eilish?
I think so. I would love to see Boy Genius in concert. So.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just a whole lineup of like childhood. Call Me Maybe, Lorde, Royals. That's just like, that's peak like 2016 radio, you know.
Thanks, Thea and Valeria. On September 16th, the one-year anniversary of the death of Mahsa Amini, people from all over the DMV marched in Lafayette Square just outside the White House to protest for her, a 22-year-old Iranian woman who died in the custody of the Iranian morality police for allegedly violating the strict dress code forced upon women. Amini's death initiated the Women, Life, Freedom movement, and since then, hundreds of women in Iran have been protesting the violent actions of the Iranian government. Cities all over the world have been protesting to raise awareness about the treatment of women in Iran. Here in D.C., crowds carried picket signs and Iranian flags while chanting, quote, "say her name," end quote. Through protesting, they hope to push the U.S. government to impose stricter sanctions against Iran.
5 American prisoners in Iran were released Monday in exchange for dismissal of federal charges against 5 Iranians who were accused of violating sanctions and an unfreezing of $6 billion in oil assets. President Joe Biden said in a statement that the Americans, quote, will soon be reunited with their loved ones after enduring years of agony, uncertainty, and suffering, end quote. The 5 Americans were initially jailed on charges of espionage and were imprisoned through 2 years of negotiations. Biden did face criticism from some Republicans who said that unfreezing the oil revenue was equivalent to, quote, the largest ransom payment in American history, end quote, according to former Vice President Mike Pence.
That finishes up our first episode of the semester. Thanks for joining us. For GWeek, I'm Emma Grace Myers.
And I'm Preston Summit. See you next time, GW.
We did it.
We absolutely.